All right, real quick on twin I-beam suspension here, predominantly used on Ford pickup trucks. This is my 89 F-150. We're gonna cruise underneath here. Check this out. So what you have is I-beam here. There's our outer knuckle, spring, and it comes across to the other side. It has our pivot point that lets it go up and down, similar to a control arm. There will be a bushing in there, just like your control arms. And here's our other I-beam, and it comes across and crisscrosses on the other side and does the same thing. Again, twin I-beam setup, two-wheel drive only. This is the rear-wheel drive pickup, so two-wheel drive truck. And our steering is going to be a steering box right here, pitman arm, and all of our linkage that crisscrosses across the front and ties both sides together. So our center link, and then our other link, and this is going to be our steering knuckle, excuse me, and our steering in links. So this is what you'd be checking for wear and play. And this is a twin I-beam setup. So once again, more predominant in Ford pickup trucks, and just the basics. All right, we're back with some suspension testing. Here is a 96 or later Buick Park Avenue Supercharged. Pretty wore out, but we wanted to show you, in addition to the basics of suspension, how you would go about testing for worn parts. So pretty much three components. You're going to have your steering in linkage that you want to test for wear, and how you do that is you grab the tire on the 3 o'clock and the 9 o'clock position, and you're going to gently pivot back and forth, kind of like that. And this one does have some play in it. That motion there is the actual play in the system right now. You probably can't hear it on camera, but that's the actual play in the system. We'll show you on the other side here in a second. How you're going to test for wheel bearings is you're going to grab it at the 6 o'clock and the 12 o'clock position, and you're going to do the same back and forth motion. And you notice this one doesn't have the play in it. That's just me kind of moving the whole car, and you cannot hear any play. So that'd be testing for wheel bearings. And finally, our third one is going to be checking for ball joints, and that one's a little harder because the spring is pushing down on the wheel here, but you're going to kind of grab the bottom and push up and down a little bit and listen for some clicking noises or some play, just like your steering in linkage. That's going to be your ball joints. And the easiest way to remember all this and keep it straight is you test your steering just like the steering would go left and right. So testing your steering in linkage just by moving the wheel left and right. Wheel bearings, remember your wheels are going to be spinning and you don't want them to be going like this or anything as you're driving down the road. So wheel bearings is the bottom and the top. You know, make sure it's not going to be flopping around. And then ball joint, think of your suspension again. That's allowing your control arm to travel up and down inside the wheel well, giving you your suspension travel. So you test your ball joints by going up and down. That's the easiest way to keep all that straight. So again, steering, wheel bearings, and ball joints. So this one actually has a pretty good amount of play in the steering, which we'll show you on the other side here. And Mr. Beal will take over.
Thank you, Mr. Hamrick. Okay, let's address the end play here. First of all, this tie rod boot is shot, okay? So this is an outer tie rod. This part going in is the inner tie rod. Back here is the rack. This would be called a bellow, just like your CV boot, but it's called a bellow on the rack. The rack is the center portion that is attached to your steering wheel, moving you back and forth, okay? I don't know how well you can see this, But when you move this back and forth, let me get out of the way here. Let's get a close-up shot on there. You can actually see down here where it is pivoting in the tie rod orifice. And yes, I did say orifice. This is the reason why you saw the wheel moving back and forth when Mr. Hammock was going on the 3 and 9 o'clock position, moving the wheel back and forth.
Do a little more, Kurt.
Yes, sir.
Do it without shaking the rotor. There we go.
Okay.
That might show up.
Okay, so now we're in the quick service class, but also in the fundamental class. We have a car here that is outstanding when we're doing our 52 point or our 240 point inspection. So first things first, you got the tires off, you're checking the brakes, and here we go. Looks like somebody's had a fire here. We're gonna address that in another video, but here I start looking and I've got a motor mount that's got damage, okay? It doesn't look like oil damage, but if you can see this well enough, it looks like it's gotten pretty hot, okay? Now, if I look down here on the CV axle, I've got damage to the axle as well. All right, so we've got a bad axle. Right now, we're already up to about the $500 repair, not including the outer tie rods, okay? So again, looking at this as a money situation that we're performing repairs for money, this is a great candidate for work in your shop, okay? So I'm gonna look at the brake hoses here, and remember, we put our hands on it. We check here, we check by looking, pull it sideways, looking for any cracks or breaks in the hose, okay? And look right down here. It got hot down here as well. Look at that hose. So we can tell there's been some kind of fire, okay?
Show the ball joint.
Now the ball joint is right here, okay? And look, its boot is damaged as well. Now keep something in mind when you see these boots that are damaged on something. Just like this side, the other side ball joint probably has the same problems, but that doesn't necessarily condemn the joint. It just condemns the dust boot. But in this day and age, we don't buy dust boots. We just buy new ball joints. But remember, when we're doing our inspection, in the end, not all of our customers have $5,000 to repair their $1,200 Ultra supercharged Park Avenue. So you've got to prioritize for them. And something like this is not going to be a safety issue if you are not exceeding the maximum specifications for playing it. Going back to this tie rod, that is absolutely unacceptable. That would be on top of my safety list, okay? See that the boot is bad on this here, but I actually have play in the system, which is creating a looseness in the steering, okay? So I look up here, I'm checking the spring boot cushion, or pardon me, the spring cushion here on the strut. I'm looking at, this is called a bellows as well, and I'm looking for any and all corruption, especially now that I see there's been some kind of fire, okay?